No doubt. No doubt.
Okay. Okay. Yes, I know we're 7 minutes late, but the person that was supposed to be on, I asked him to email me if anything came up wrong, and that didn't happen. And for some reason, the emails I sent out, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I think I think I will. I'm gonna I'm gonna send out one more email, and we'll see what happens with that. Okay. Okay. So I sent it out, and so if they come, they do. Um, Let me do one more thing. I'm gonna put one thing, say password. I put my number there. 20. Sorry about this, John. But I'm up here sitting here enjoying a pineapple, not even thinking about well, what if the guests didn't get the email? What if my
Oh,
co-host didn't get the email? So anyway, I'm done with that. Anyway, we're gonna have a fun night. We're gonna do some predictions here.
yeah, okay.
So I'm thinking like
Mhm.
I I was thinking like,
Talk about. Mhm.
what would Trump have to do to make his first 100 days, or maybe the first year, or maybe the second year, successful in your mind, right? And if you leave in the subject line, like what you think that would look like, I'm thinking like if he could pass, it's great to have all these executive orders, but then when the next guy get in, if he doesn't agree with that, he can just switch it over, whether they worked or not, especially if they're from a different party. But if you can get it like into law, then it's more time consuming to get that flipped over. You see that with the Obamacare, everybody kept on saying they were running on, we're going to turn Obamacare, and I think people were just lying about that. Uh, and then when they got the votes to do it, they turned it over, but they didn't have nothing to replace it with. So therefore, he was able to gut it, but not replace it with something better.
I don't understand why they did Obamacare for, besides ruining America's health care. I don't understand how they could force you to buy their insurance.
Yeah, and
That's
penalize you and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's
that's
just
against the Constitution.
yeah, and it seemed like the Constitution only works when they want it to work, and then
Yeah.
they'll even distort that. It's like so it's like uh, and here it's almost like he was sideswiped with that, because maybe if they lied to him and said that they were ready to do this and ran on it, and so foolish us, we sometimes we say, well, maybe this time they're telling the truth,
Yeah,
and then we
maybe.
find out, no, 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 no.
We're here to help.
Yeah, it's like, gee, yeah. So I say if he gets, okay, it looks like he's going to get one bill signed, the Lake and Kelly, Lake and Kelly, they're going to get that bill signed. So that's number one out of I think if he could get four done within the first 2 years, and I think he has to either re-up on the tax cuts, or I don't know if that's do a different bill, because he wants to bring it from 21% down to 50% for corporations. So,
He's got a tough road to hold on his first full year because they're saying in 2026, July 4th, 2026 is going to be a phenomenal day.
oh yeah, wow. So I'm thinking like, you mean like when we had the big celebration of our 250 years?
Yeah.
No, man.
It, I forget what they called. There was something else. America's something or other. I don't remember.
Yeah. So okay, so that's one of my predictions, and like your prediction down there too, you guys out there, uh, and oh, if you get an inkling, do like, share, support. It's we're our own producers here, so we can't hire somebody behind the scenes to do all uh, the heavy lifting. You know, we have to do all the heavy lifting. Um, I thought also, let's see, I'm seeing all man, and this is so exciting. And if he would, I think he was so surprised that he won the first time that he didn't think like, oh, uh, he thought that, I won. People gonna, I'm the president. You're gonna do as I say, right?
He, yeah, he didn't know Washington though.
Oh yeah,
Now he
yes,
does. He
oh
knows
yes,
exactly what Washington is about. I mean, his first presidency, I believe, was pushed by the real military.
hmm,
They wanted the deep state out of there. That
hmm.
that's how I look at it. I'm conspiracies, I know, but
Yeah,
look
and
look what's been going on. I mean, Biden has tried to get us into war. He couldn't because he
hmm,
wasn't in charge.
yeah,
Right?
and
If he was a president, he could have dropped a bomb. He couldn't.
yeah, and they
He
were
didn't
saying like
have the codes.
they said Washington is run by a lot of 25-year-olds because it's a place where before you have kids, you're running around, you think you can change the world, and until reality hits, and then you see like how prices are and everything like that. But if you're 20, somebody described it like you're 25-year-old and you might have 8 roommates in order to survive living in these expensive places, right? Because I remember when I first moved to LA, I had a roommate and our rent was 600. We were in our SSDI, we were getting 600. So me and another blind guy got together. We split it because we figured like surely we could eat on pay our phone bill, which was at the time it was $10, and we split that. $300, we split that. The public service, oh man, that was hardly anything. And it was easy enough to split it like that.
You know,
But we were like 21 and 20, and it was just fun times. But you can imagine like if he had an actual family and I had a family, splitting up a 2-bedroom house like that.
huh,
I think and it was a fun thing. I heard something this I don't know if this was a Chinese guy, and he was saying like, how a lot of these people they will play the music at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I remember back in those days, always I had the window open because it was so hot at night, and people would be playing the music as if it was a party, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and and I had to get up and work, and I'm assuming that some other people had to get up and work too, and I'm thinking like, who are they, and how could they afford to stay up like that unless they, well, I can't
you
imagine
wouldn't
if
like it here.
huh?
You wouldn't like it here.
What?
Karaoke all night or videoke all night long.
Oh, no, but how did
Like
they
our
do it?
neighbors have a big family and they always have birthdays going on down there and they always have videoke or karaoke going and it's blasting.
Well, I got used to just being able to just sleep with all that stuff going on, and sometimes it would enter into my dreams, and and I'm dreaming like a fiesta in my dreams.
You know,
So so I mean, but it was just interesting that but again, I was 21 years old, and I don't know. I guess you're a little bit more easygoing sometimes. Ah,
yeah,
so
definitely easier going. I today, I mean, from where I was, I used to let people bother me. I used to let stuff bother me a lot. And
hmm.
today it's like I have no concern in my eyes. It don't bother me anymore. I'm living here has made me patient beyond belief.
Hmm.
I mean, I
Oh,
was never been this patient before. I have to be here. I don't have a choice. If it
hmm,
happens, it happens. I can't do nothing about it.
hmm. Oh, and if you're just joining us, you were waiting for Countess Maria the Jonas for something. There was a email debacle or whatever. I sent her my email, phone number. I sent her a link to the show. So, uh, and some people are just not technically available. And speaking of technical stuff, so we heard about all those billions of dollars they're putting in this uh, AI stuff, which I think is kind of exciting to see. Well, okay, this one part, okay, they said like it can look at your medical profile and be better at predicting what the treatment should be. But I wonder because in AI it says AI can make mistakes. So I don't know. I don't,
Who's programming?
hmm?
Is it a doctor programming it? How are they going to know what's good for you and what isn't good for you?
Yeah, I'm thinking like because okay, I have this because I have so many eye operations. I have this big, thick. Whenever I go to my doctor, he has this big, thick book because he's been with me since I was like 17, right? And I'm thinking like somebody would have to input all that information in there, and that's just for my eye. Who knows what kind of medical thing that otherwise, And then what if I said I don't want any of your drugs that will destroy my kidneys. As I don't want any of those drugs. I want you to be able to reverse this on a plant-based diet, which I know that you have had no more than 12 hours, if that, of nutrition. And I wonder if you could go in and say something like that, or would it have to be like Dr. Fauci had put in this thing where you had, if somebody came in with COVID, you had to do it one, two, three, four. You couldn't vary from that, right? And if you did, you didn't get the money, right?
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, my brother, his niece was a nurse, and she swore up and down that their hospital was overrun with COVID patients. I said she was lying.
Hmm.
There wasn't a hospital anywhere overrun with patients. Nowhere.
Yeah. And I guess if you can't go out there and well, some people they hear it and they don't go check it for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be able to check it out.
Yeah.
If you can't check it out, it's like, why would you believe him if you can't check it out?
Yeah. I
I
learned
mean,
the
I
hard
have
way.
the same thing opposite because I can't go there and check stuff out. But I know here, hospitals weren't filled up with COVID stuff. They just weren't.
And they cook the books.
Of course. If they wanted the extra $30,000, they had to do the books.
Because I heard one guy, he came in and he had a gunshot and they just listed it as a COVID. He died of COVID.
Car accident, motorcycle accident, he died of COVID.
Yeah. And it was somebody who was famous and the brother overdosed and but he was famous. So we heard about him and I forgot whose brother he was. And but then, they put it on top of it, COVID. but
Right.
he overdosed. He was a drug addict. He came to Colorado, to get his drugs on, and he ended up overdosing. And it's like, oh man, it's like it took 100 years of people living because with the last one it was 18 something. It took 100 years, and they figured, well, who's going to remember what happened? The what was it called? Not the what was the virus in 1918? They figured that it would take that long for generations to forget, and who's going to remember how that was? And so they pulled the fast one.
That's part of the patriot movement right now. I mean, they're trying to bring back stuff where people tell generations after them what's going on. I mean, that's part of the patriot movement.
But it
Keep our history intact.
but it was written in the Bible, like tell your children, sit down
Yeah,
with them, tell them in the morning, tell them at evening.
yeah.
And somehow we lost that as the world has become more secular, you know.
See, the whole
Just
Bible is written that way. I mean, all the different books and stuff in the Bible, and
mm,
they all concur at this with the same stories.
yes.
It's just amazing.
And so I know, like, okay, right now this okay, and this is a thought I had. Okay, they started like, well, probably started a little bit longer, but I think like around 59 they started with this women's liberation. And I think that was just a plan for either the government guys to say, okay, you know, we're getting a lot of tax money with just a guy working because one guy could support his whole family on just his paycheck. But he said, okay, but what if we wanted to get, and then, some girls, they became secretaries or whatever they had, and some people went on to other stuff. But the main thing was one guy taking care of the whole family. And I'm really thinking like the government said, well, what if we had both of them working? And then they could be distracted that then they have to put their children in our government schools, and then we can indoctrinate them for women, girls to say, I can be just as good as a man. And so now we have two people that are trying to keep up and paying taxes. And so then we have them both working so hard that they can't tell the children, sit down and have time to tell the children, this is how it was, and don't forget this. And I'm thinking that a lot of that had a lot to do with just making it difficult to have that family time.
Yeah.
All right. You know, and I think about that because I'm thinking like, even with my family, I think we got together, but of course it was my dad was working, and my mother would take the check and then she would budget it out and then she would give him so much money for that week. And and sometimes he liked to go out to the dog races. So he would ask his kids, he said, you got any money? Oh man. So it was, I guess a lot of the women were taught budget the money. And the guy said, well, I just hand my check over and then she takes care of the other stuff. But now with women being the daddy and the mommy in a lot of cases, uh, mm, I don't know. I don't know how that, I know that it happened, but how they so easily thought that was normal, you know. So I predict eventually uh, the tide will turn, but I'm not sure how long it's going to take for it to turn
Yeah.
and and the traditions. And I know I see like a little small circle, but I know it's there in some circles, like traditional kind of stuff. And sometimes a guy can find a good enough job where his wife doesn't have to work. She can be home and homeschool. But not everybody can do the homeschool thing. And yeah. Oh, you've heard of the comedian Richard Pryor, right?
The
I was
what?
watching the comedian Richard Pryor.
Oh yeah.
I was watching this movie about JoJo Dance, and he did a skit, and he said the first memory, and it could be a joke, right? First memory he had, his auntie came in the room, and she threw up on him, and he's 3 years old, right? And he says he looked around and said, "Is this the way? Is this normal? I don't know what's going on." And then she's looking at him, and he thought, well, maybe she's gonna pick me up and give me a hug. And then she throws up on him again. And I'm thinking like, you know, here you're living in this world where, you know, you wonder like how many, like, okay, what would it be called? Dysfunctional things are going on like that. And then you grow up to be a comedian, or you don't grow up to be a comedian. You uh, but it's so weird how resilient we are when we're just a blank sheet, you know. Uh, but I mean, I was just thinking about like resilience, and though, and so we see these kids in these war torn countries, right? And but eventually, I had a friend, and I said, "Who was it? Who was?" No, I don't know. It's not a friend. He's an acquaintance, and he said, he was sitting by his friend, and you know, his it was a war going on, and bullets are flying, and his friend got shot, his got blew up and stuff like that, and it's almost like so he experienced that as like I think a 12-year-old, but yet, and then now he has mental problems, right? And so we have people that go in the army, they're told you gotta, you know, attack this other person. You don't even know this other person. You just know that this government is saying that you're that person's the enemy, and so and hey Joe, okay, so when you went to the army, I mean, you know, did you hear like bullets chung, chung, like that, and you have to wear the helmet to protect you and stuff like that? Was you a part of that or no?
I wasn't. I was in the Navy on an aircraft carrier.
Oh, that's even more scarier. It's like you got all this water around you.
Yeah, you can't swim that far.
I'm thinking you got sharks in there, so you can't even go out there to have even a fun swim because you're gonna get eaten. Oh, we even saw. Did you ever, because you were out in the sea? Did you ever see like big, like other than a whale, big huge fishes that look at you like you could be like they were looking at you like you could be their next meal?
Well, in Puerto Rico, we were we were not scuba diving, snorkeling,
Yeah.
and barracuda come up and swim backwards in front of you because they like the shiny on your face mask.
Hmm. We saw what was it? I think it was in
Big teeth.
Estonia. They had this thing where they said don't go out this far, you know, but this guy, some people they don't they see that thing and they put those things in the water to say don't go out.
Egypt.
Was it in Egypt?
Yes.
And I guess this person went out uh, and they saw this fish, big huge fish, and it was looking at him like yeah, you could be my next meal, you know.
No, he says that this fish has very smart eyes.
Oh, it said the fish had very smart eyes. I'm not sure if you're a fish and you have very dumb eyes, what difference would it make?
Okay,
Oh man. But I
guy
don't
is
know.
and I am Oli.
Or you would have like a shark, whether it has smart eyes or not, he's looking at you like, yeah, you I'm gonna bite you and move you around a little bit to see if you're tasty or not, and then it'll decide whether you are or not, you know.
That's like these guys taking sharks and setting him free. It's like,
Catch
why
one.
would you do that? It's a shark. Kill it.
Yeah, it's like, they're
An alligator. Kill it. It's a snake. Kill it.
gee, man. I don't know. I still, well, what I hear, like when you go down deep and then need to see them deep. I mean, I hear there's this fish that is transparent and you can see, it's almost like you can see through it. Like, and I'm thinking like, man, there's so many things in the sea that we
Well,
haven't
there's
even
some
figured out.
places in the sea that have never been explored because they can't.
So, okay, they wanted to go to Mars and put our flag.
They aren't going to Mars. They
Well,
can't even leave. They can't even leave the atmosphere. What do you think about that last flight SpaceX did? It's like, what do you think they hit?
what?
They just
Like,
didn't have a rocket malfunction. They hit something. It
oh,
exploded when they hit the firmament.
gee.
Hmm.
Because I'm thinking like this, and I'm trying to look for this guy. He did this experiment, and I guess he's a scientist, whatever. I guess he's part of the testing to see how long people can stay out in space. And so the way they do it here on Earth, where they put you underneath the water, you're in this little confined thing, and you stay there, and then they just observe how you come out. And I think he was in there. I think he was in there for 100 days or something like that. Um, and so he was talking about his experiment. And man, the girl was she was a young girl interviewing this guy, and it's like, man, if I had this guy, and I'm gonna keep on Googling to see if I can find this guy because I would love to have him on the show because he was talking about his experience, but it was something more. I thought we could ask him about, being underwater for 100 days and some of his experience because they said that's what they do to see how the body would react. Because I
Yeah, but
mean,
they do that in submarines.
well, yeah, yeah, submarine. Well,
Why do they need to have a lab underneath there to see what astronauts will do? All they have to do is go into a submarine.
and that would be a question to ask. Like, why was he so special that that they, they put him aside for this certain experiment?
They put those nuclear subs in for years at a time. What? Why do they need uh
This one guy.
well, but I, it, everything is just a lie. We've been lied to our whole life about everything.
Yeah, and that would be one thing. I would love to figure out when did the first person in government or whoever in these positions said, you know what, we need to lie to everybody else. And then we need to have a secret society where only a few of
Miller.
us know, right?
Yeah. Who do you
And
think who sets up the medical stuff? Rockefeller
Rockefeller,
Foundation.
yes.
Who who
Yeah.
who got rid of all the natural meds, the naturopathic medicines to do their oil-based medicines?
Mm.
Rockefeller and DuPont. And,
And who knows? He might even got rid of like some of the secrets that the Egyptians had,
well, yeah.
you know? And just thinking like, because like, when you go into a village, like back in the day when they used to have war in the village, you burn everything down, you killed the older guys, then you make the kids a slave, the women, they become your wives or
Make
whatever.
them lose their history.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So,
That's what this the new culture for the schools is. And they're doing the same thing here.
mm,
Send all the people that know anything off to war so they can't turn around and tell you what happened. The ones that do come back, they're scorned, like in Vietnam. When they came back from Vietnam, they were they were ridiculed. They were not liked or welcomed home when they came back from Vietnam.
mm.
And they didn't have any choice in it. Most of them were drafted.
Yeah, and then I'm looking at these guys from North Korea that's going down to help fight that thing, and they're losing a lot of those people. And I know, like in North Korea, I mean, I guess if you're in the army, you get fed better than the other people. So you join, so you can get three meals in a cot, and this is your mission. But it's almost like now he's just using those as target practice, and it's like so it's almost like hmm, thinning out the population
Calling
kind
the
of
herd.
thing. Yeah. And for us who are left around, we look around and we say, okay, that's that's what's going on. But I was talking to sometimes I talk to my oldest daughter, and I would tell her, I said, okay, you got daughters who are in school, they're not with you, they're with their baby daddies, whatever. But don't you think, I mean, if it was me, I would want to check in to see what's going on. And that's one reason I stayed here when they were in those productive years because I don't want to be because I could have had jobs in other cities, other states, and whatever. But I said, no, I want to be here. I brought them in where I want to be around them. So if I need to go to the school, I went to the what they call that, the PTA meetings,
Yeah.
field day stuff, so they have a memory of that kind of stuff. And I would have a memory of the stuff that be over the phone and saying, hey, what did you do in the field day? All right, great. So, but
When my son was in school and stuff, I did PTA, I did field days with him. And I was a single parent. That's just something I did. Of course, he don't remember that, but oh well.
eventually they said the older you get, you start having these flashbacks of what you did when you're older. I know this guy, he had 5 kids and his wife was a truck driver, and she just decided, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to just drive my truck, go across the country, and you take care of the kids. I said, I mean, I can imagine how hard it would be like one, maybe two, but 5 kids. It's like, gee. But I guess they ended up turning out fairly good, interesting personalities and so forth. But it's like, and then of course, that probably happened throughout the history. Even back in the cowboy days, something happens, one parent, gets the plague or whatever, and there you go. You have no other choice.
They
Yeah.
had those orphan trains and stuff going all the time, sending them to western states to help settle.
Hmm. Yeah,
The orphan trains were big after the Civil War.
it was because a lot of like the fathers were gone, or
Yeah. And
yeah. Hmm. It was something. Oh, it was something about oh man, it went it left my mind because it was something about that era. Um, oh shoot, it left my mind. That's terrible when something like that happens. But anyway, um, I don't know. I was just so like thinking about like the ancient times of, and I was just thinking like they was saying like that bridge that Trump wants to take back. Uh,
Panama Canal, you mean?
yeah, he said something about 3,038 people.
30,000 men died, soldiers.
Yes. And I'm thinking
American,
like,
United States paid for that.
yeah,
And the treaty there states that if 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 they lose control or can't maintain it, it reverts back to the US. Don't matter what Carter did. It goes back to the US.
but I heard that's the way the Chinese do. They come into a country, whatever, and they say, we'll build you this infrastructure.
Yeah, the
And
Chinese, see, that's part of the treaty. It has to be open to free trade, and China won't do that.
yeah, so they go in and say, we'll build it, but we'll use our workers. And then when you can't pay back, we take it over.
Hmm.
And it's like, you
And
know,
the
they've been
United
doing,
States gave them back the land and everything, but they had to sign a treaty on the rules of that canal.
yeah. So I don't know. It's just like this has been like a leaving Twilight Zone, and this is more interesting than business as usual.
You know, that would be a prime place to have a an event,
The
a, a
over
big bad event.
near the canal.
No, you bet. That would, you know what, that would disrupt so the world. Just like when the Suez Canal got backed up and that ship got sideways in it,
Hmm.
that disrupted travel and world economics huge. The Panama would even be more because it's directly in the United States, East and West Coast.
Hmm.
They
It did.
have to go down south Cape of Good Hope, South America, down below there to traverse around that.
Hmm. And do you think it's really okay? They're making so many thousands, billions of dollars. Do you think like the money they are charging them is really that much? I mean, I keep hearing Trump saying like, you know, they're overcharging them, but I'm thinking like if you're making billions of dollars, how much is
Well, here's the deal with the canal. What's it going to cost them in time,
to go around
manpower,
it?
and loss of goods? Cape of Good Hope is nasty waters. People don't like to sail there.
You said
It's
the water's nasty?
rough waters,
Oh,
yes.
rough water. Okay, okay,
Very,
okay.
very rough. It's not a good place to be on a ship.
Hmm.
There'll be dragons in them there waters.
Oh, everybody, if you're watching the show, we're just having a free flow. Our Countess Maria has some technical problems and whatever, and so that didn't happen. So we're just having so like our own type of prediction of like what has happened and how we can learn from our past and what will happen. And I'm thinking those 300,000 kids that are missing. I like to put like a they've been missing for a while. And I'm kind of thinking like how long would it take? Would it take like a full 2 years to find traces of them? And then or will we start finding traces of them and then step by step?
They've been finding them a lot lately. It's just not in the news. Not
You
in the
know,
north.
but they're in these either sweatshops or other places.
And other places probably.
Hmm. So that's gonna be kind of interesting. And it's almost like,
That's all that stuff is coming too. You're gonna find out stuff you don't want to know.
yeah, because I have a feeling that there's a lot of stuff going on. Forget about the dark web.
You know,
It's just stuff that's on the underbelly. And there's like a lot of stuff that's going on that if you're not in that circle, you just don't know.
you know.
Right? Because I have a friend now that old friend that went from Christianity to wearing all black and going to these private parties. And I'm thinking like, how did you get from Christianity over to this thing? You know? And it was a world that I never seen it before. Good food though. But I said, I'm just not into that, all this craziness. It's like I got enough stuff going on in my life without this kind of craziness.
My God.
So, so I figure like, eh, there's a lot of stuff. And then someone was saying uh, about okay, that over in Wuhan, China, we saw people eating like bat as a delicacy. And I think like how much delicacies are stuff that we think would be yuck here, but in other countries, it's
You mean
pretty
like
cool.
dog?
Yeah, dogs, cats, yeah, monkey brains, all that kind of stuff. And it's a delicacy over there, but it's not necessarily a delicacy over here. Or if you're an
Yeah.
ambassador, yeah, if you're an
Keep
ambassador
my
and you're
pets
going,
around for spare food.
huh? What?
Keep my pets for spare food.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're an
Hmm.
ambassador, you have to go to these different countries and you sit down and you eat. And sometimes, they eat with their hands. And so you think you're looking around, you say, wait a minute, where's the knife and fork? And you say, oh, no, you do it we do it this way here. Right?
Yeah, my wife and niece and daughter, they eat with their hands a
Yeah. I
lot.
mean, yeah, before Civil War was, that's what it was.
Mhm.
Right? And so it's like, but then you get so far removed from that, you think, oh, I'm so much better because I don't do this. No, you're just using another tool that somebody developed and said that, um, not convince you. If you were just born and if you just looked around, everybody's doing this and they teaching you to do it, you just take that as normal because you was there when you at the beginning of when you were born. And then when it's removed from so many generations, it just becomes the norm.
What? Remember Kill Bill, the movie Kill Bill,
Oh yeah.
when what's her face was being trained by that old Chinese guy, and she started eating the rice with her fingers and stuff, and he threw her outside and the food on the rice on the ground. Said, "You eat like a dog, you're gonna be you're gonna live like a dog." So eating with chopsticks is better, I guess. I don't know.
Oh man. There's some classic movies. But anyway, hey, so anyways, that's gonna do it for us tonight. Hey, put your like, share, subscribe. There's our Cash App there. You can support our show. Um, and well, I guess we'll see you next week. I'm looking for some other guests, so I may go into some other places and find either some musical artists or, like I said, I'm trying to find that guy who went underneath water for 100 days because I have some questions. And every time I listen to NPR and sometimes I hear so much stupidness on NPR. I wonder if I can grab one of those people and just sit them here and just shake my head as they say some silly stuff. Like, geez, man. So I don't know if they would because they believe that stuff.
Come on, man, you don't believe that crap, do you?
Oh man. So that might be interesting to see if I can find because I mean I hang out with these older guys over at the church over here, and it's everybody's pretty level-headed. So I said, what happened to that other generation that they went south? So so ah, so who knows? I'll pick out some people, and then I got to get them take. Well, never mind.
Their
I'll get them.
daddies wore the baggy pants down around their knees.
Oh, that was a joke I was telling this morning. Since Johnston, our Mayor Johnson, he wants to go against the law. I said I can't wait for him to be, sagging, uh, and Big Bubba, waiting for him to.
You're gonna make him, I love you.
Oh man, that's why he's walking it back because he doesn't know if he can if he's built for federal prison. But
He's got childbearing hips.
oh man, so we'll see. I want to see some more of this resistance with these governors and then the churches saying that if you run in here, you're sanctuary, and there's actual rules and if they're in a church, you can't arrest them. If they're in a protest, which is stupid, because this guy was reading off these things, the ways that ICE can't touch illegals is a protest, church, um, so a few other things. He was just running it down,
That's
huh?
not that's not in a law anywhere.
But somebody
Somebody
put this,
has somebody's mind.
yeah. And so I got to find out. I got to go back and listen to. I was just listening to it now. I'm gonna have to spin that back and listen to that
Like
again.
the old game, hide and go seek. Ollie Ollie oxen free.
Yeah, crazy, man. Well, it's getting pretty serious. So it's getting pretty interesting, and I like that Trump is so laid back.
Yep.
I mean, he's just. I
Not
mean,
worried.
you can just
He
hear it in his
never get
voice.
worried about anything, it doesn't seem like.
Yeah, he said, "Okay, so what? I've been on the rodeo, and I'm ready for the long term." So it's fascinating. So anyway, hey, you have a fantastic weekend.
You do the same.
All right, see you guys. Oh wait, oh, it's my Zoom. There you are.